It was a rainy Thursday when everything changed. Eli Ramos stood in the gatehouse at Stonebrook Correctional Facility, watching the transport van pull through the concrete entrance. Rain hammered the windshield. The wipers barely kept up. He'd been working this night shift for 3 months. 3 months of steady paychecks, predictable routines, and the kind of peace a guy like him needed. No drama, no complications. Then she stepped out. The new inmate moved differently than the others. Most women who arrived at Stonebrook shuffled, scared, angry, or both. They kept their eyes down. They knew the rules. Don't stand out, don't talk back, don't think you're better. But this one didn't shuffle. Her name was Lena Vale. Eli caught it from the transfer paperwork before she was even processed. The document said she'd been a defense attorney before a fraud case destroyed her career, destroyed her life. Now she was just another number in an orange jumpsuit. During the warden's briefing that afternoon, the message was clear. She's clever, charming, manipulative. Don't underestimate her. Eli nodded like the other guards. He got it. He'd heard stories about Stonebrook, guards bribed, evidence lost, alliances formed in the shadows of Cell Block D. The place had a reputation for pulling people in, making them forget why they'd come in the first place. It wouldn't happen to him. Not a chance. That night, as he walked the corridor doing head count, something unexpected happened. Her cell door was open, cleaning hour. Lena sat on her bunk, writing in a small notebook. When he passed, she looked up, just like that. Their eyes met for half a second. She didn't look scared. She didn't look angry. She looked calm, like she was the one in control, not the other way around. Officer Ramos, she said softly. Just his name, nothing more. He kept walking. Guards didn't talk to inmates. That was rule number 1. Do you ever wonder if everyone here is really guilty? Her voice followed him down the corridor like an echo, like a question that had already crawled inside his head before she even asked it. If you've ever ignored a warning, subscribe. You need to see what happens next. Not subscribing? Comment why. I want to know what stopped you. He didn't answer. He couldn't. But that night, lying in bed at home, her words stayed with him. Circled. Haunted. And that's when Eli Ramos made his first real mistake. He started wondering. Weeks crawled by at Stonebrook. Eli noticed something about Lena that nobody else did. She was different from the other inmates. She never fought, never gossiped, never joined the cliques that ruled the yard. Instead, she sat alone in the rec room for hours, writing in a small notebook. Her pen never stopped moving. Sometimes she'd pause, close her eyes, and stare at the ceiling like she was solving a puzzle nobody else could see. But here's what really got to him. She watched everything. When fights broke out, she didn't look away. When guards passed by, her eyes tracked them. When whispers spread through the cells at night, her head tilted like she was listening to a language only she understood. Eli told himself he was just doing his job, watching inmates. That's what guards do. But the truth was different. He was watching her. One evening, while making his rounds during the night shift, something caught his eye. A folded note, white and small, peeked out from under Lena's cell door. He shouldn't have picked it up. Every protocol he'd been trained on said, don't touch inmate correspondence. Report it. Move on. But his hand moved before his brain caught up. He unfolded it. For words. That's all it said. Someone's planning something in Block C. You want to know? His stomach dropped. That night, he checked Block C. Behind a vent in the showers, exactly where the note suggested, he found it. A smuggled cell phone, taped and hidden. His heart pounded as he seized it. By morning, the warden called him into his office. Officer Ramos, he said, leaning back in his chair. You found contraband before it became a problem. That's the kind of proactive work we need here. The warden praised him in front of the entire staff. Made him look like a hero. That night, Eli found another note under Lena's door. You're welcome. Just 2 words. Almost playful. But hit different. Why would she help him? Inmates don't help guards. Guards don't owe favors to inmates. That's how the system works. Unless she wanted something. From that moment on, Eli started looking for her even when he didn't have to. During shifts where he wasn't assigned to her block, he'd find reasons to walk past. Her calm presence pulled at him like gravity. He told himself it wasn't attraction. It was curiosity. But curiosity is dangerous. Curiosity is how good men start making bad choices. And Lena knew it. It was a Thursday night when everything changed. The power flickered. Eli was doing his usual rounds when the lights died, just for 6 minutes. Long enough. When they came back on, nobody said a word. Blackouts happened. Nobody thought twice about it. But somebody was thinking. When he opened his locker after shift, there it was. A sealed envelope. No name. No marking. Just waiting. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside were photographs. Grainy, blurry, but clear enough. Him standing outside Lena's cell. Him talking to her through the bars. Him leaning in close like they were friends. Like they were more than friends. Each photo had a timestamp. They were recent. Very recent. And someone had seen every single one. On the back of the photos, 2 sentences were scrawled in black ink. We're watching. One wrong move, and these go straight to internal affairs. Ilias diest tighteneth. His mouth went dry. This wasn't a warning. This was a threat. Who would do this? Who was watching him? He couldn't sleep that night. He kept thinking about those photos. How had someone gotten close enough? How long had they been following him? The next day, he couldn't focus. Every glance from another guard felt like suspicion. Every conversation felt like a test. By evening, he couldn't take it anymore. During count time, when the corridor was quiet, he stopped at Lena's cell. "What did you do?" he whispered, his voice tight with anger and fear. She looked up from her bunk, calm as always. No surprise on her face. "No guilt. What are you talking about?" "The photographs. Someone left them in my locker. Someone's trying to." "You think I did that?" She stood up slowly, walked to the bars. "Why would I help you? Then turn around and threaten you?" He had no answer. "Then who is it?" he demanded. She stepped closer. Her voice dropped so low he had to lean in to hear it. "Maybe someone who doesn't want you asking questions, Eli. Maybe someone you already trust." The way she said it, so calm, so certain, made his blood run cold. Because she was right. If someone inside Stonebrook had gotten those photos, it meant someone on staff had been watching him. Someone with access. Someone with power. And that meant nobody was safe. Nobody was trustworthy. Not even the people he worked with every day. That's when Eli realized something terrifying. He wasn't being protected. He was being tested. 2 days passed like forever. Then Lena requested library duty, the one place Eli supervised. A coincidence? Maybe. But nothing felt like coincidence anymore. When the other inmates left and the hallway went quiet, she walked past his desk like she was reaching for a book. That's when she leaned close. Close enough that he could hear her breathing. "They planted that envelope to see what you'd do," she whispered. "You're being tested, Eli." He didn't move. Didn't breathe. "Tested by who?" he asked, barely audible. "The people you work for." He pulled back. That's insane. But his voice shook when he said it. She sat across from him, pretending to read. Her eyes never left the page, but her words kept coming, each one sharper than the last. "Why did they move me here from another facility? Why did they assign you, one of the only guards with a clean record, to watch me?" Think, Eli. His stomach twisted. He'd never asked himself those questions before. He didn't want to. "You're saying the warden. I'm saying someone wants to know what you'll do when you're pushed. How far you'll bend. Whether you'll break." She turned a page slowly. "Everyone fails eventually. They just need to know how you fail." Before he could respond, she stood up and walked to the shelves. When she came back, something was different. Her hand brushed the table as she passed. A small flash drive sat where her hand had been. "Everything you need is on this," she said quietly. "But if you open it, you'll never see this place, or your job, the same way again. You understand that, right?" He stared at the drive. "Don't take it unless you're ready," she continued. "Because there's no going back after you know what's really happening here." She returned to her cell before he could even respond. Eli sat alone in the library, hands shaking. The drive felt impossibly heavy in his pocket. Around him, the prison hummed with its usual sounds, distant voices, footsteps, the hum of fluorescent lights. Normal, ordinary, safe. But everything had changed. He looked down at his hands. One moment of curiosity, one small drive. That's all it took. And now he had to decide. Stay in the dark or open his eyes to something that might destroy everything he'd built. Outside the library window, rain started falling again, and Eli made his choice. That night, Eli sat alone in the empty security office. The fluorescent lights hummed above him. His hands trembled as he stared at the small flash drive on the desk. A choice. That's all this was. Plug it in, and his life changes forever. Don't plug it in, and he becomes another guard following orders while corruption spreads like rot through Stonebrook's halls. He thought about Lena's words again. You're being tested. What if she was lying? What if this was the trap? Not the photographs, but this moment right now. Have you ever had a choice where you knew both paths led somewhere dark? Eli's finger hovered over the USB port. In the quiet of that office, he could hear his own heartbeat, could hear the rain outside hitting the prison yard. He thought about his daughter, about the child support he had to pay, about how he'd told himself every single day, just keep your head down, just get through. But what kind of man gets through by ignoring corruption? What if Lena wasn't manipulating him? What if she was actually showing him the truth? He inserted the drive. The files opened instantly. Dozens of hidden camera clips flashed across the screen. Cell Block D, the staff shower room, even the warden's office. Then came the recordings. Guards accepting bribes. Officers helping inmates move contraband. Conversations about making evidence disappear. Eli Ramos. He knew some of these men, had eaten lunch with them, had trusted them. And then a final video clip appeared. On screen, Lena, sitting alone in an interrogation room. But she wasn't an inmate. She was sitting across from someone off camera, speaking in a calm, professional voice. He's ready, she said. He's asking questions now. His loyalty is shifting. Eli's breath caught. Was she helping him? Or had she been playing him the entire time? Before he could finish watching, footsteps echoed down the hallway outside. His hands moved on instinct. He yanked the drive out and shoved it deep into his jacket pocket. The security office door swung open. The warden stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the dim hallway light. His expression was unreadable. Ramos, he said, his voice steady and calm. I hear you've been spending extra time on D Block lately. Anything I should know about? Eli forced his racing pulse to slow. He pasted on a neutral smile, the kind guards practice in mirrors. Just doing my rounds, sir. Standard protocol. The warden studied him for a long moment. Too long. Good, he finally said. Keep it that way. But as he turned to leave, Eli felt it. The walls were closing in, and he had no idea which side Lena was actually on. Everything he knew had just become a question mark. The whispers started small. A guard here, an officer there. But in a place like Stonebrook, whispers travel fast. Ramos is talking to Vale too much. Did you see him unlock her cell? Something's off with him. Within days, the distance was obvious. Eli would walk into the break room, and conversations would stop. Officers he'd worked with for years suddenly had other duties. The warden never called him in. Worse, he never called him at all. Silence was the weapon. But the real breaking point came during the evening shift. Eli was doing his rounds in D Block when he noticed it. Lena wasn't writing anymore. The small notebook that had been her constant companion was gone. She sat on her bunk, facing the wall, refusing to acknowledge him when he passed. For the first time in weeks, she wouldn't even look at him. That night, he couldn't sleep. The isolation was crushing, not from the other guards, but from her. He realized something terrifying. He'd stopped caring about his job the moment she stopped caring about him. By the third day of silence, he broke. During a late shift, when the cameras had their usual blind spots and the halls were empty, Eli made a decision that would destroy everything. He walked to D Block. His hand moved almost on its own, unlocking her cell. His heart pounded. This was it, the moment where there was no going back. Lena turned slowly. Her eyes were different now. Cold, calculating. Lena, tell me what's going on, he said, his voice barely steady. Who are you really? She stood up, and for a moment he saw it. The mask slipping. Not the scared inmate. Not the mysterious woman. Something else entirely. You were never supposed to open that drive, she said quietly. What do you mean? His mind was spinning. The photographs, the envelope, the flash drive, all of it had been leading here. This whole thing, it's a loyalty assessment. Internal Affairs planted me here months ago. They needed to know which officers would stay clean, Which ones could be trusted? Which ones couldn't? Eli's chest went tight. "You're not an inmate?" "No, I'm an investigator." The words hit like a physical blow. Everything collapsed. The connection he thought they had. The danger he thought they shared. It was all designed. All tested. "You set me up," he whispered. She stepped closer, and her expression softened, but it felt like a knife wrapped in silk. "No," she said. "You set yourself up the moment you care more about me than your duty." That's when he understood. He'd never resisted her at all. She had him the moment she arrived. Subscribe now before you fall for the trap that destroys good people like Eli. The next morning came like a hammer. Eli woke to banging on his apartment door. Not a knock, a bang. Police. Federal agents. They didn't say much, just read him his rights while his neighbors watched from their doorways. The drive from his apartment to the federal office felt like a funeral march. By noon, his badge was gone. His career was over. But worse, nobody believed him. Not the union lawyer. Not his family. The official story was simple. Guard Ramos violated protocol. He entered a restricted cell. He tampered with evidence. He compromised the facility's security. No mention of Lena. No mention of the investigation. Nothing that would explain why a clean record suddenly meant nothing. The warden didn't testify. Didn't say a word. That silence meant everything. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived at his apartment. No return address. No postmark that made sense. The envelope was plain. His name was written in handwriting he recognized. Inside, one sentence. Temptation isn't always about desire. It's about distraction. Below that, the USB drive. Identical to the one he'd destroyed. Same color. Same weight. Like it never happened. Eli's hand shook. Should he plug it in? Should he burn it? Should he call someone? He plugged it in anyway. The video started. Stonebrook's D-block corridor. The same hallway he'd walked 1,000 times. But this wasn't footage from his past. This was recent. Today's date stamped in the corner. A new guard appeared on screen. Young, clean-shaven, walking the night shift. He looked nervous, uncertain, exactly like Eli had looked when he first started. The camera panned slowly across the cells. And there, in cell 14, a woman sat writing in a notebook. Beautiful, calm, confident, not scared like the others. She lifted her eyes toward the camera, as if she knew someone was watching. The guard stopped. He stared at her. She smiled. Then a message appeared on the screen in white text. The test begins again. Let's see if he resists. The video cut to black. For 10 seconds. Nothing. Just darkness and silence. Then one final line appeared. They always fail. Subscribe now, so you see the next victim's story and understand the system. Eli sat frozen, the laptop screen glowing against his face in the darkness of his apartment. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Welcome to the real Stonebrook, Eli." It never stops. It just finds someone new.